Number 10. The Mars family. I want candy. You want candy. We all want candy. The Mars family owns Mars Inc., which is, and you guessed it, the Mars Bar Company. They are one of the world's largest candy and pet food companies, right? Like what? Like how do those go together? You know? Kinda weird. The family themselves come from humble beginnings. Frank Mars started Mars Inc. way back in 1911 when he started selling candy from his kitchen in Tacoma, Washington. The malt flavored nougat we all know and love wasn't actually made until 1929, when they came up with the Milky Way. How exactly they made the transition from candy to pet food is like beyond me, but that aspect of the biz expanded in 2017. They acquired the animal hospital company VCA, making a $9 billion investment. Overall, the company is worth, get ready, $40 billion in sales. What? So they're rich and they own candy? Well, okay, they're really rich and they own candy. For one, they can influence anyone. And consider the fact that sugar is considered an addictive substance. And then also, Willy Wonka, right? Fiction or non-fiction, candy is a big deal. Imagine a world without it. Number 9. The Morgans. The Morgans sound like the family that lives next door who outdo everyone when it comes to like holiday decorations, but I'm talking about the JP Morgans who could probably do that and control the world at the same time. The Morgan family is one of the most influential American families. Their dynasty is tied to banking, and you have probably heard the name JP Morgan over like 100 times in passing. At the turn of the century, Morgan was the most influential businessman in America. He was so admired and respected that on the day of his funeral, the stock exchange remained closed until 12 p.m. To give you an idea about how much financial success he attained, he bailed out the US Treasury twice. His ability to do this no doubt caused great uneasiness among other people and resulted in the development of the reserve system in late 1913. Today, the Morgans still maintain their political and financial influence not just in the US but also in Europe, as their company is there as well. So, world connections. Number 8. Pritzker. Arriving from Ukraine late in the 19th century, the Pritzker family made everyone believe that the American dream could be reality. 50 years into their journey as entrepreneurs, they finally started to invest in real estate. That one decision led to over 900 hotels the family owns today, plus an airline and a cruise line just for like extra pizzazz. Ever heard of the Hyatts? That's them. Like many on this list, they are not without shares in different financial institutions, amplifying their influence. After all, if you got your hands on someone else's money, well, you can pretty much do what you want. J.B. Pritzker was the governor of Illinois in 2019, so there's the political influence, and his sister Penny worked as the Secretary of Commerce in the Obama administration. So not only are they the 9th on the Forbes list of richest families, their political influence is even more obvious. Their net worth is over $32.5 billion, which they use to back the presidential campaigns of Obama and Hillary Clinton. An astounding amount of wealth, which of course has been met with competition and strife. Liesl Pritzker Simmons, once a child actress known for Little Princess, didn't know this, now a prominent impact investor, actually sued her own father along with her entire family in 2002. Her father and cousins looted her and her brother's trust funds, so she filed a $6 billion lawsuit, settling with $500 million plus $280 million in cash, plus more control over her trust valued at $170 million. So not quite the $6 billion she wanted, but still, no complaints, I would hope. No complaints. Number 7. The House of Windsor. Whether you consider them the figureheads of the monarchy, the House of Windsor remains one of the most powerful families in the world. They are the reigning family monarchy in Great Britain, and although they may not be the richest on this list, their wealth does not simply lie in money. The Windsors reigned over the entire British Empire, which of course included the fruits of the colonial pursuits of jolly old England from years past. Their colonies, protectorates, and dominions spread across the world. They were also recognized as the official monarchy of several independent countries. Therefore, their wealth is in many pies, as it were. Along with the fanfare that follows, people are obsessed with them. Like the whole Meghan Markle thing, it's nuts. Queen Elizabeth II is the head of the family, the church, and the commander-in-chief of Great Britain's military troops, along with performing her duties as supreme ruler of 15 autonomous countries. Fun fact, this is a fun fact, my grandparents met her twice at the Queen's garden party, and they said hi, and she's very queenly, and that was all I really found out about that. But that was cool. Number 6. Rockefeller. John Davidson Rockefeller may have picked up a few tricks from his dad when he started his American empire. Son of a con man, Rockefeller bought out several owners of Cleveland's largest oil refinery in 1865. Then he just he just kept going, buying out competitors left, right, and center, which led him to take over 90% of America's refineries and pipelines. But beneath all that success were dubious dealings with corporate spies, secret railroad deals, bribery, leading the US attorney to sue Standard Oil after this came to light. However, the trial only resulted in the company breaking off into 34 sub-companies and allowed Rockefeller to maintain ownership. By the time John D. died, his assets equaled out to 1.5% of America's total economic output. That's more than anybody has ever made today. Today, the 200 descendants of the Rockefeller family have a net worth of over $11 billion, which is significantly less than what they had before. Though their considerable wealth is not what it once was, their name still carries immense weight to this day. John's grandson, David Rockefeller, is the man who stirred up rumors of conspiracy in the 1950s due to his highly secretive meetings. His enigmatic behavior added to fuel to the fire towards the suspicion that the Rockefeller family seeks to gain or maintain control of the world. Number 5. The House of Sod. I feel like if you even have your baby toe dipped in oil somewhere in the world, in a metaphorical sense of course, you can control the world. It's the most important thing, we use it all the time. The House of Zod is the royal family of Saudi Arabia. They, like many powerful families on this list, have old money, especially since they are descendants of the founder of the first Saudi state. The king of Saudi Arabia reigns with absolute power, meaning he could make anything he want happen at the snap of his fingers. They could start a war if they wanted to, and that they have. They consider the country to be an asset, especially since they reign on precious crude oil reserves, about 20% of the world's global resources. The entire House of Saud has 15,000 members, so to be clear, we are specifically talking about the 2,000 members of the inner circle. The actual family under the king of Saudi Arabia can get any job they want so long as it's in the country. Number 4. The Bush family. Yup, we mean that one. Of course, you would expect the families on this list to have political connections, otherwise how else would you rule the world? Their family has made it into the political offices for over 70 years, with good old G.W. Bush being the 43rd president. But of course, we must discuss a pretty seedy scandal. Documents finally declassified in 2003 revealed that Prescott Sheldon Bush had dealings with the German army during World War II. The Guardian reported in 2004 that Prescott worked for and profited from companies closely involved with the German businesses that financed the man who rhymes with Hitler's rise to power, meaning he could have been prosecuted for providing air and comfort to the enemy that killed millions of innocents. Additionally, this is crazy. Additionally, he continued his support after it was revealed what the Yahtzees were doing, and you know what I mean by Yahtzees, I just can't say it because YouTube, censorship. Ugh, I hate it. But anyways, the documents even imply that the US knew where the camps were and could have disabled them long before they were finally discovered. Number 3. Rothschild. The conspiracies surrounding this family appear to me never ending, and some of them may be right. After all, the possibilities are endless when you carry that much influence in your wallet. The Rothschilds are one of the most wealthy families in the world, and their legacy goes all the way back to the 17th century. That is the oldest money I think we have on this list. Mayer Amschel Rothschild established a banking business back then and became the personal banker for the German royal families. His 5 sons then took the business and expanded it into London, Paris, Frankfurt, Vienna, and Naples. British and French war efforts have relied on their funding, including the Napoleonic Wars in 1803 to 1815. This family literally had a hand in the success of war. If that's not power, then I don't know what is. Though their business remains in control of banking, they also have hands in real estate, oil, and construction, so basically everything around us. Number 2. The Murdochs. No, I'm not talking about the Canadian classic everybody watches on a Sunday that's been running forever, Murdoch Mysteries. How are ya? But same name. To say the media plays a huge role in every part of our lives is an understatement, even to say that. It's at the rate we consume media on our phones, on the subway, on the street, TV, computer, on headphones, you'd have to head to the Alaskan Triangle just to get away from it. Which is why the Murdochs are so damn powerful. The Murdochs control several broadcasting networks, their reach stretching across 3 continents. So needless to say, their influence has very little borders. Their imperialism began in Australia by a political reporter for the Melbourne papers, Keith Murdoch. Keith climbed his way up to editor, and after he figured out how to double the sales, he became CEO. His son Robert followed in his footsteps as a reporter, and together they formed the News Corporation, which held the power of Australia's media in the palm of their hands. But the corporation now owns 20th Century Fox, Fox News, MySpace, and Dow Jones, plus I think a few more. However, there is no fame without scandal. In 2011, the News Corp was prosecuted for illegal phone tapping of celebrities, the royal family, and even bribed police and special units units. People thought that maybe, I don't know, like maybe this should topple the entire empire, but it didn't. It remains standing, and who knows what's happening behind the scenes. And last but not least, number 1, the Waltons. And hitting in at number 1 on the Forbes list of America's richest families, we have the Waltons. Their net worth being $247 billion. Fun fact, if you were to start counting to $1 billion today, it would take you 30 years to complete. So imagine counting to $247 billion. Somebody do the math for me down below in the comments. Guess what they own? Walmart, which is the world's largest retailer by sales. However, they also own Arvis Banks, right? Which operates 16 banks in Arkansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, and Kansas. An unfathomable amount of wealth that this family hoards, and it looks like they want to keep it that way. The Waltons have played a lead role in eliminating the federal estate tax, which would essentially help billionaires evade estate tax entirely, right? Their influence also carries over easily into politics, considering the average election campaign costs $10 million. The Waltons could easily make that in under a day on their business earnings alone. According to Bloomberg, they can make around $100 million a day. Who do you think gets to dictate the terms when your candidate needs money? On top of that though, they also donate a lot of money towards education and environmental initiatives, and of course have their grand share of vintage cars, art, and properties. Apparently it still sucks to work at Walmart though, so.
Starting off this list in our number 10 spot, we have the Agape Lodge. I've spoken about Jack Parsons before, but I had absolutely no idea that the American rocket scientist was also involved in occult practices. In the early 1940s, Parsons founded a cult-like group called the Agape Lodge, which was affiliated with Aleister Crowley's religious movement, the Lemma. The lodge was based in Pasadena, California, and practiced a form of ceremonial magic that aimed to invoke spiritual entities and to achieve personal transformation. Apparently, these entities included them trying to raise the Antichrist. In 1945, L. Ron Hubbard, who would later go on to found the Church of Scientology, joined the Agape Lodge and became closely involved with Parsons. The two men engaged in a series of magical rituals and experiments, including an attempt to create a homunculus, sorry if I said that wrong, a miniature human-like creature through alchemy. The relationship became strained when Hubbard convinced Parsons to invest a large sum of money into a business venture, which he then used to leave the country with Parsons' wife. I mean, fair enough, I think that would strain any relationship. Even the demons were like, damn, that was absolutely savage. The Agape Lodge disbanded shortly thereafter, of course, but the influence of Parsons and his esoteric practices continued to be felt in the world of occultism and popular culture. In our number 9 spot today, we have Ophite cultist Sathanis, also known as Our Lady of Ender Coven. This was a small satanic group founded by Herbert Arthur Sloan in the 1940s. The group was based in Los Angeles and practiced a form of Luciferianism, which emphasized the worship of Satan as a liberating force. The name Ophite refers to the ancient Gnostic sect known as the Ophites, who worshipped a serpent or dragon as a symbol of divine wisdom. The group's beliefs were heavily influenced by the writings of Aleister Crowley, as well as the teachings of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, which we spoke about last time, and other occult groups as well. The Ophite cultist Sathanis was known for its use of ritual magic and its promotion of sexual liberation and exploration. The group's rituals involved the invocation of demonic entities and the use of symbols, music, and dance. While the group was relatively small and short-lived, it had a significant impact on the development of modern satanic and occult movements, and its influence can still be felt in these circles today. In our number 8 spot today, we have Michelle Remembers. You might remember this one. Michelle Remembers is a controversial book that was written by Michelle Smith and her psychiatrist Lawrence Pazder, which was published in 1980. The book details Smith's alleged recovery of repressed memories of ritual harm at the hands of a satanic cult. According to the book, Smith claimed to have been harmed by members of the cult who allegedly engaged in a range of horrific acts, including killings, consuming flesh, and the use of demonic entities. The book's claims sparked widespread public concern and fear about the existence of satanic cults in the United States. The book's veracity has been heavily criticized and debunked by numerous experts and scholars who argue that Smith's memories were likely the result of suggestive therapy techniques employed by Pazder rather than actual experiences of these things. This criticism is also only fueled fueled by the fact that Michelle and her psychiatrist Lawrence went on to divorce their respective spouses, marry each other, and then went on speaking tours. At the end of the day, however, I wasn't there, so who am I to say what happened for sure? Despite the controversy surrounding Michelle Remembers, the book has had a significant impact on popular culture and the public's perception of satanic cults. In our number 7 spot today, we have the Illuminati. You probably have heard of the Illuminati before, but did you know where it really all started? The Illuminati is a secret society that is believed to have originated in Bavaria, Germany in the 18th century, and they have been accused of engaging in satanic practices. It's said to have been founded by Adam Weishaupt, a professor of law at the University of Ingolstadt. The goals of the Illuminati are often shrouded in mystery and conspiracy theories, but they are said to have aimed to promote rationalism and free thought, as well as to oppose the influence of the Catholic Church. Of course, things change over time, and that includes the beliefs surrounding this mysterious organization. In today's day and age, for those who claim the group still exists, the Illuminati has become the subject of numerous conspiracy theories that suggest they are involved in controlling world events and governments while still maintaining that satanic image. Despite the controversy and secrecy surrounding the Illuminati, its influence and impact on history remains a subject of interest and speculation for many people. In our number 6 spot today, we have the Ninth Circle. The Ninth Circle is a controversial and secretive group that is alleged to engage in satanic rituals that involve some pretty dark and horrifying things, including things like deadly sacrifices and flesh consuming. The group is said to operate globally with members from various countries around the world. I'll be honest, while the rumors and stories are aplenty, no one is absolutely certain that the group really exists. Is it fictional, or is it the world's most horrifying but best kept secret? Despite the controversy, the cult has gained a significant following among those who believe in its existence and the supposed atrocities it commits. The Ninth Circle cult remains a subject of controversy and speculation, with some viewing it as a legitimate threat to public safety, while others see it as just a baseless conspiracy theory. In our number 5 spot today, we have the Decadent Movement. The Decadent Movement was less of a cult and was more of a cultural and artistic movement that emerged in Europe in the late 19th century. It was characterized by a rejection of conventional morality and a celebration of excess, luxury, and, well, decadence. Decadent artists and writers sought to break free from the restrictions of traditional values and explore more taboo subjects such as sex, death, and the occult. They were known to celebrate Satan more in an artistic way rather than a religious way. The movement was influenced by a variety of factors, including the decline of aristocratic society, the rise of industrialization, and the growing influence of scientific rationalism. Decadent artists often depicted a world of boredom, decay, and degeneration, and their works were characterized by ornate and stylized language, vivid imagery, and a preoccupation with the senses. Some of the most famous figures associated with the Decadent movement include writers like Oscar Wilde and Charles Baudelaire, the latter being the person who wrote The Flowers of Evil and Litanies to Satan. In our number 4 spot today, we have the Brotherhood of the Golden Arrow. The Brotherhood of the Golden Arrow was a mystical and occult society founded by Maria de Naglowska in Paris in the early 20th century. Naglowska was a Russian occultist and author who claimed to have received divine revelations and messages from a group of advanced beings called the Unknown Superiors. The Brotherhood was based on the principles of the third term of the Trinity, which proposed a union of the masculine and feminine principles through the agency of a third neutral principle, and they also worshipped Lucifer, the serpent. The group practiced a form of sexual mysticism that they believed would lead to the attainment of higher consciousness and spiritual enlightenment. Members of the Brotherhood were known as initiates and participated in rituals that involved the use of symbols, music, dance, and sexual practices. The group was highly secretive and attracted a small but devoted following of intellectuals, artists, and writers. In our number 3 spot today, we have Procter & Gamble. Okay, not a cult, but a huge company. There has long been urban legends surrounding this company that suggest it is related to Satanism. I will say these are just rumors and conspiracies, and many people have done the work to try and debunk them, but when I came across this wild theory, I just had to share it with you. The idea that the former CEO of Procter & Gamble, John Smale, was involved in Satanism is a well-known conspiracy theory that has been circulating for decades, and the theory is based on the company's logo, which allegedly includes a depiction of Satan or the devil. People claim that John went on national television and shared how happy he was that the United States was so open-minded because now he could admit that the company had had donated large sums of their profits to satanic cults. While no one has been able to produce a tape of him saying this, I just think this absolutely wild rumor was one worth sharing. I mean, who really knows? The conspiracy theory about Smale's supposed involvement in Satanism is believed to have originated from a rival company, Amway, which spread false rumors about Procter & Gamble in an attempt to damage its reputation. Despite being debunked numerous times, the rumor has persisted and continues to be spread by conspiracy theorists and anti-occult groups. In our number 2 spot today, we have the Process Church of the Final Judgment. This church was a religious cult that emerged in the 1960s and 1970s. The group was founded in the United Kingdom by Mary Ann McLean and Robert de Grimston, and it combined elements of Christianity, Satanism, and the occult. The group believed in a dualistic worldview in which Satan and Christ were seen as complementary forces. The Process Church also had a strong focus on apocalyptic themes and believed that the end of the world was imminent. The group's rituals were often performed in black robes and involved chanting, dancing, and other forms of ecstatic practices. Despite its controversial beliefs, the group gained a following in the United States and attracted several high-profile celebrities. However, the group's controversial beliefs and practices eventually led to its decline, and it disbanded in the 1970s. Today, the legacy of the Process Church continues to fascinate and intrigue those interested in the history of religious cults. Finally, in our number 1 spot today, we have Catherine Monvosian. During the reign of Louis XIV, poison was one of those things that you really just had to worry about. It was on the rise as an easy and sneaky way to take people out and to change the course of inheritance and influence. Because of the worries surrounding possible poisonings and stories of people close to the king doing some shady stuff, investigations began. It was soon found out that the king's chief mistress, the Marquis de Montespan, was said to be quite the client of Catherine. Catherine was a Parisian salesperson who sold powders and potions that were meant to catch the attention for the king. You know, love potion stuff. And among these love potion stories were also the stories of horrifying rituals and rites in order to get these alleged powers. These stories of course terrified the king, and this led for him to order Catherine to be burned at the stake, and not only this, but hundreds of others were implicated as well. Some passed from the conditions they were being held under, others were executed, and some saw punishments that spared their lives, but their reputations were forever tarnished. For the chief mistress, however, well, although she was connected to this entire ordeal, she was the mother of several of the king's children, and because of this close connection to the king, she wasn't arrested or tried. Instead though, she was retired and sent to a convent to live the rest of her life.
In our number 10 spot, we have the Ant Hill Kids. In 1977, a Canadian man named Roch Theranault, I might be pronouncing it wrong, it's kind of a hard name to pronounce, created a doomsday cult that was called the Ant Hill Kids. Their beliefs were based on the Seventh-day Adventist Church, a church that Therault was personally removed from before creating his own cult. He began to assemble his followers on the premise that the world would end in February of 1979. The cult resided in Burnt River, Ontario. Roch is most known for performing all kinds of surgeries on his followers, including amputations and castrations. Oh my lord. He even fathered 26 people with multiple wives within this cult. Roch was thankfully arrested in 1989, and he met his own doomsday end in prison by another inmate in 2011. In our number 9 spot, we have The Family, a popular Australian cult that was founded by a woman named Anne Hamilton Byrne in Victoria in the 60s. Anne convinced mothers to give up their children, and Anne adopted all 28 of them. They were dressed in traditional gender-specific plain clothing and were continuously mentally and emotionally hurt by Anne. At some point within these years, Anne started taking an illicit drug and began to think of herself as Jesus Christ. She would tell her family to take this psychedelic during her sermons, and she would preach that they were the master race that would continue on when the world ended. Anne was eventually caught by the police, but only was charged with a small fee, and then she went about her days, just living life until 2019 when she passed away. Well, at least that now means that her doomsday cult will be forever put to bed. We hope. In our number 8 spot, we have the Brethren. Still around today, and possibly a cult that would love to be adopted worldwide, I'm sure. This is a cult that was founded by Jimmy T. Richards in 1971. This group is considered radical as they believe that the only way to prepare for the end of the world is to purify yourself by giving up all modern conveniences and conflicts. The members are forbidden from celebrating. Man, that sucks and hurts my soul. I feel like I celebrate all the time. Heck, I celebrated when I woke up earlier and pushed myself to stay up. That's cause for celebration. They are expected to make anything they need and ignore all modern social conventions. Imagine having to make everything you need in life. No, I can't imagine this. I don't even know how to use a hammer properly, so I would probably be kicked out of this one. In our number 7 spot, we have the Plymouth Brethren. This is a doomsday cult that was created in 1831 in Dublin, Ireland, that was created by John Darby, a clergyman. Eventually, the group made its way to the United States, where it had roughly 50,000 followers. They studied the Bible, but the cult had some very interesting rules and beliefs as well. Members weren't allowed to go to the theater, probably because of fear of indoctrination of non-Bible believing ideas. But also, for example, all pets needed to be put down as they were considered a distraction to God. Even the members had to attend service 5 times on Sundays. So basically, they had no Sunday. The cult is most likely still strong today because John Darby never actually put an end date down for the doomsday. He just said it would happen at the end of the church age. Smart. Then you could die before it happens and you'll never know if you were right, and you also never have to take the blame if it doesn't because you never said when. In our number 6 spot, we have the Laodicean Remnant Adventist Church. This cult is truly very terrifying, so I'm so happy that it has been raided and closed down. I mean, all cults are terrifying, but most of these cults are joined by people that have the choice to be a part of them. This cult gained its following through force. 79 people were put into forced labor, and they were promised that they would achieve salvation before the world ended. They were forced to sleep in tents and use dangerous machinery, and they were also forced to sleep near containers of dangerous chemicals. You would think that perhaps their food would be covered by this cult, but it was not. The brainwashing ended up running so deep that the people didn't even want to leave when the cult was raided in 2019. I'm so glad that this cult will not be trying to take over the world anytime soon. Coming up in our number 5 spot, we have Heaven's Gate. Not a cult that necessarily wanted to take over the world in its prime, but one where the leaders definitely thought that they were special enough that a Bible verse was referring to them. Arguably not as threatening, however, they managed to convince a group of people to take their own lives, so perhaps they truly were. Marshall Applewhite and wife Bonnie Nettles apparently read the book of Revelation and saw a reference in chapter 11 verse 3 to 2 witnesses to the end times, and they believed themselves to be those 2 witnesses. They at one point believed that a UFO would transfer them to a higher state of being, and when that didn't happen, they moved on and began believing that if they took their own life, then their souls would be transferred to a spaceship following the Hale-Bopp comet. What's eerie to me about this cult is that someone has kept their initial website active for all of these years. The creators have long gone, so why? Perhaps someone somewhere still believes in these ideas and hopes others will too. In our number 4 spot, we have the Children of God. A man by the name of David Berg created the Children of God cult, and it was founded in 1968 in California. The cult preached the word of God, but with a slight twist, such as it encouraged its girls to go flirty fishing, where essentially women would recruit men into the cult by performing acts of giving themselves in inappropriate ways. There were about 15 members in this cult around the world in its prime, believe it or not. The cult is actually still active today under the name Family International, so yes, perhaps it is a cult that one day hopes to take over the world. Hopefully at this point they've dropped the flirty fishing. In our number 3 spot, we have Shin Chun Chi. This is an active active cult still today that was founded in 1984 by Lee Man-hee. Known as the Shincheonji Church of Jesus, this cult is devoted to the thought that only through Lin Man-hee is Jesus Christ reanimated. Through him, followers believe that they can escape damnation. This is one of the largest doomsday cults in South Korea, and so many say is heavily radicalized. For example, they preach that getting sick is a sin as it distracts the person from being able to preach the word of God. In 2020, a practicing woman took her own life when she got sick with the coronavirus. This cult continues to try to spread its word to the world, and they definitely would want to take over if the opportunity presented itself. In our number 2 spot, we have the Church of Almighty God, aka Eastern Lighting. This is a pretty serious doomsday cult that is said to be still active today. I was honestly quite terrified while reading some of the reports that have been filed on this cult that I can't even believe it hasn't been shut down yet. This is a cult that was based off of a woman claiming that she was the reincarnation of Jesus Christ. She is pretty obscure and most members have no idea who she is. Limited people have contact with her. The group is known for its violent acts against people of all ages. On October 14, 2014, a woman was heavily beaten to death after turning down the cult members who were trying to recruit her. Honestly, this sounds more like a mob to me, but would love to know your thoughts in the comment section below. In our number 1 spot, we have the Supreme Truth. Supreme Truth is a cult that started in Japan in the 80s that was strong for 2 reasons. 1, people believed that its creator, Shoko Ashara, was not only the reincarnation of Jesus Christ, but also of Buddha. We'll get back to that one. And 2, because he had his followers believe that after World War III ended, humanity would come to an end. A thought that began to slowly become less convincing as World War III never came about, and humanity wasn't seemingly coming to an end. But the fact that people not only thought he was the reincarnation of Jesus and Buddha has to make you think, what the heck were they drinking? That is so clearly not a true story. Nonetheless, people believed him so heavily that they even paid money for his bath water, his hair, and one person even wanted his blood. Eventually, this cult turned quite violent, committing a lot of crimes in Japan, and after being captured, changed its name a few times. Rumor has it that it's still active and gaining traction. Yikes. Well, that's terrifying. I think I may go into my Disney princess bubble for the rest of the day, as the idea of these cults still in power and trying to influence the people of the world is just the most scary. Excuse me as I go blast the Tarzan soundtrack. Phil Collins always soothes the soul.
Number 10, the Abani family. Someone mentioned this family in the comments last time, so here we are. Let's chat, shall we? With a net worth of 44.8 billion, they are listed as one of Asia's most rich families. Dhirubhai Ambani is the man behind the legacy. As a teen, he demonstrated strong skills in retailing and selling oil. In order to support his family, he began importing spices and fabric, which later became Reliance Commercial Corporation, the now billion-dollar company. Like, what? He had 2 sons named Mukesh and Anil who took over the company, but due to a falling out, the empire has since been divided. His son Mukesh Ambani now owns the company, however, and it hasn't suffered for it, and in 2017 the company soared due to better refining margins. Reliance also sparked an oil and gas price war in India's hyper-competitive telecom market. I believe I said something about having a hand in oil means you've got a hand on the world. That remains to be true. Number 9, the Bush family. The Bush family is an American dynasty, as you can probably already guess from the name. The family is best known for their involvement with politics. The Bushes have various national and state offices spanning across 5 generations. There was US Senator Prescott Bush, Jeb Bush, as well as of course George W. Bush. That's not what he sounds like, but anyways, you get my point. Other family members are involved in sports, hitting touchdowns in the NFL, politics, sports, America. So it's pretty clear that they have their hands deeply rooted in the soil of the USA, the one of, if not the most powerful country in the world. Through 5 wealthy and powerful generations, the wealth of the Bush family has expanded across investment bankers, magazine publishing, remember what I said about media in the last video, the Supreme Court, justice, the railroad, on top of everything else previously mentioned. Yeah, so is it a secret that they kind of rule the world? Not really, because when you've got your fingers in so many pies, you might as well just be the whole bake sale. Number 8, the Bentoncourts. The estimated net worth of the Bentoncourts is over 91.7 billion. Why? Well, L'Oreal. Eugene Schuler founded the revolutionary cosmetics company all the way back in 1907. If you have to ask why they secretly rule the world, and you do not know the importance of having a good hair day. It could change the whole thing. Hair is everything. Lillian Bentecourt was a surviving heiress and owner of the company before she died at the age of 94 in 2017. She was the richest woman in the world at the time. Francoise Bentecourt Myers is the granddaughter of the founder who continues a rich legacy. She profits from the 33% stock in the company and now serves as the heiress to the fortune. In between revolutionizing the hair game, the family continues to support French progress in the sciences and the arts. They also donated $226 million to help repair the Notre Dame after the massive fire, if you recall. So, yeah, they have a lot of money. People love their hair. What a world. Number 7, the Buffetts. When you think of the stock image of an incredibly rich man, Warren Buffett is probably not far off. But honestly, I hope this guy in part rules the world because he seems to actually be doing some good. Known as the Oracle of Omaha, Buffett is one of the most successful investors of all time. He currently runs Berkshire Hathaway, which owns over 60 companies, including Geico, Duracell, Dairy Queen, batteries, ice cream, insurance, what more could you want? His current net worth is $100.8 billion. Considering he bought his first stock at 11 and filed taxes at age 13, pretty good. Pretty good, Buffett. But despite his massive wealth, he actually isn't a big fan of dynastic living. He believes his money would be best given to the world rather than his kids. What? That's nuts. That's not to say his kids aren't already well off, but Buffett has promised to donate 99% of his wealth. So far, he has given over $45 billion away to his sons and the Bill Gates Foundation, which I'm kind of like, does that count? Maybe. But Bill Gates and Buffett launched the Giving Pledge, asking billionaires to commit to donating at least half of their wealth to charitable causes. So if he does have a hand in the world, I hope this isn't lies. Probably is. But you know, good guy Buffett. Good guy Buffett. Number 6, the Albrecht family. Historically secretive, the Albrecht family is known for their ownership of Aldi and Trader Joe's. As for their personal lives today, there isn't a lot known, though their humble beginnings are quite touching in a way. After World War II, Theo and Karl Albrecht found their mother's old corner store still standing in Germany. So they not only brought it back to life, they gave it an entirely new one. They transformed it into the massive Aldi international grocery chain, earning a net worth of over $53.5 billion. In 2013, Aldi made over $13 billion in the US alone. In 1979, the family trust purchased Trader Joe's, which added immensely to their capital. After all, who else can eat their weight in organic almond butter? Though a fair amount is known about their business life, the Albrechts keep their family life hidden away. They don't speak to the press or attend store openings. They almost sound like the Willy Wonka of grocery store chains. They don't own any vacation homes, private jets, yachts, and only keep a couple €1,000 in their bank account. So what are they doing with the rest of their money? We don't know. They elect to live secluded either to hide themselves or to hide something darker. Or it could just be that they just don't want to deal with the paparazzi. I wouldn't want to either, personally. Number 5, Larry Page and Sergey Brin. Okay, technically not a family. I get it. But they might as well be. They're bros. Because why? Google. I debated just saying that one word and just leaving it there because, well, Google. You know? Don't know who they are? Google it. Who doesn't use Google at least a dozen times a day? I literally couldn't do this job without Google. So no, they aren't old money, they're not a family, but they have families. But they were two guys who started a legacy that changed the world forever. Page, valued at $91.5 billion, and Brin, valued at $89.5 billion, started Google in 1998 and have since kept a pretty low profile. The two met at Stanford University while studying for their PhDs in computer science. They wanted to find a way to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible, and that they did, but maybe too well. Google was recently under fire in Australia as criticisms called out Google for playing a role in weakening the media. As someone who uses this stuff every day to do this stuff, I gotta say they are kind of right. More often than not, the fastest, not the truest information is available first and foremost. I mean, consider how many videos we pump out a day. It's crazy. But if you do want to know more about how these two have a hand in the world, well, I don't know. Google it. Number 4, the Koch family. A couple of you commented as to why the Koch family wasn't on here. Well, that's because I was saving them for part 2. Maybe. Fred C. Koch started America's largest private company when he co-founded the Wood River Oil and Refining Company in 1940, which would later become Koch Industries. Then it was just a bunch of nepotism after that, though there was a power struggle between the brothers Frederick and Bill. Their stakes were bought for over $800 million in 1983. Fred Koch's son, Charles, still remains the head of the industries today. There is, of course, controversy over how the business began, specifically to do with the Soviet and German powers at the time. That's right. The Koch family business is entrenched in what was the Third Reich. They built a refinery to fuel German warplanes during World War II. Even worse, Charles Koch, Fred's son, financed publications of Holocaust denial literature during the 1960s and 80s. I wonder why he would want to do that. Fred Koch also did dealings with Stalin, although after his experience with that guy, he was totally anti-communist. Makes sense. It seems the Kochs began with a mind for business over humanity. The question is, with that much accumulated wealth today, are they still willing to deal with anyone no matter the cost of human life? Or do they just want to make a buck? I don't know. Number 3, Bill Gates. Good guy, Bill Gates. The man teens refer to when they are trying to convince their parents it's a good idea to drop out of college or high school. Gates was actually an excellent student. He worked hard, exceeded in every subject, but when he got to Harvard, the only reason he dropped out was because he could pursue a business with his partner, Paul Allen, to build Microsoft. Yeah, that's right. The Microsoft. His venture worked out, and between 1995 and 2008, Bill was the richest man in the world. Unlike some other suspicious members on this list, Gates may actually be ruling the world with some kind of kindness behind him. He stepped down as chairman of Microsoft in 2014 to work on more charitable efforts through the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and as I mentioned before, the thing with Warren Buffett. Yeah, if he does rule the world, I'm not cool about it, but I'm optimistic. Number 2, Elon Musk. Okay, of course Elon Musk is gonna be on this list, especially since you know he's a dad now, so technically that's a family. And he's also got like 6 kids from another marriage, a whole bunch of stuff. So it's a family now. It's a family. While Musk himself is one of the wealthiest people in the world, I think he's the second on the Forbes list, his family didn't start that way. In fact, his mother at one point had to work 5 jobs just to support him. Even though Mae Musk is now known as the oldest woman to star in the Cover Up Girl campaign, she was actually struggling for a long time. When Elon was just 10, he taught himself how to code, and from there grew into the founder of Zip2, PayPal, SpaceX, and is now the CEO of Tesla today. Since March 2020, his fortune jumped by 514%. I wish my bank account would jump that high. Oh my god, do you know how much that is? That's $126.4 billion. When humanity begins to live in space, you can almost guarantee that Elon Musk is going to have some part of his name on that ship. His company, SpaceX, has already made massive steps towards space travel, including his BFR, translation, Big Falcon rocket. It is supposed to be a 31-engine rocket capable of carrying 100 people to space, a part of his goal to get humanity to Mars. Not only is he absolutely loaded, but Musk's legacy may very well have a hand in the survival of the human race beyond the planet Earth, so never mind ruling the world, this man could rule the stars. Coming in at number 1, Jeffrey Bezos. Jeffrey Bezos. Jeffrey Bezos. The Bezos family is easily becoming, if it hasn't already, a new legacy, with Jeffrey Bezos at the helm. Though he was married prior to 2019, even his ex-wife Mackenzie Scott has a net worth of over $57 billion from her stakes in the Amazon company, which I think is just like 4%. Bezos has 16% stake in his entire company, and he's the richest man in the world. That just goes to show how crazy successful Amazon is. Bezos founded the e-commerce giant Amazon in 1994, which started out as an online bookstore. Now it is the go-to place to get that thing you're not sure you need, but buy anyways at 3 AM so you can have it the next day. Yeah. It boomed throughout the pandemic, growing by 38% in revenues in 2020 because everyone was stuck at home. Where were they gonna do their shopping or get their Christmas presents? The company earned $386 billion in revenues that year. Though he did say he would give $100 billion to feed America, the Amazon company came under scrutiny during the pandemic for its poor treatment of their warehouse workers. On top of being a master of e-commerce, Bezos now owns the Washington Post and Blue Origin, an aerospace company developing commercial use rockets, so kind of like Musk. Musk. As we know from the previous video, you control a part of the media, you control a part of the world. So honestly, considering how popular Amazon is, he's got us hook, line, and sinker.
Coming in at number 10, we have the Knights Templar, one of the most powerful military forces and financial forces in history. The Knights Templar was simply something made up to keep the Holy Land safe during the Crusades and make sure that the land of God stayed in their power. They eventually grew in numbers and wealth. They eventually became so powerful that they had fleets of ships and armies of men, not to mention they were immune to any law and only had to answer to the Pope. Their wealth was so great that they would loan out money to kings, and some kings they would deny financial aid, and this could have been part of the fact that they would only give funds to who they thought was worthy, and also they wanted to flex their financial power over people. But eventually this would be their downfall. In the 1300s they refused to loan out money to King Philip IV, and he started to dismantle them. He would kidnap, torture, and publicly execute all of the Templars he could get his hands on. Before he did this, he would make sure he made them confess to crimes that they didn't commit. Coming in at number 9, we have the Black Hand. It was a secret group that may have kicked off one of the biggest events in human history. They were structured back at the beginning of the 20th century. They had one goal. They wanted to see all the Slavic countries stop fighting and come together as a force. This is bold but not crazy. This is what Genghis Khan did to make the greatest conquering fleet the world has ever seen. This organization was created by a group of Serbian rebels that were tired of the encroaching influence of Western Europe. They had a plan to create turmoil through assassinations, and were they ever good at it? They were able to attack royal Slavic families, and for those of you who aren't familiar with what they have done, they were behind the murder of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, which sparked the start of World War II. Coming in at number 8, the Grand Orange Lodge. Now, not all secret societies are evil. A lot of them were just made as safe havens for people from different classes, religions, or creeds to get together and discuss their thoughts without being prosecuted by the outside world. The Grand Orange Lodge was made up by Protestants in Ireland for Protestants in Ireland. They could all congregate and not worry about being chased down for having a slightly different Christian view. Now, the reason that this is on a list of scary things is because eventually they were found out, and local newspaper was actually a supporter of their gatherings, and the head of the newspaper, as well as many members of the club, were secretly arrested. This also led to the outlawing of secret societies in Scotland. In the end, the lesson here is that the men will try to come down on you no matter how peaceful you are. Coming in at number 7 is the Quill and Dagger Society. Universities are hot spots for secret societies. It's a perfect trap. You have young budding minds who just want to fit in. You give them the opportunity to be part of something, but only if they join your weird secret cult. The Quill and Dagger was relatively unknown for quite some time, but then they changed that when they took a very strange turn for something that's supposed to be a secret. They started to publish the names of all their members in a book and even have social media accounts for the club. The worst thing attached to their history was an incident in the 90s when they were accused of finding members petitioning for minority rights and removing them from the club. Coming in at number 6, we have the Freemasons. This secret society goes all the way back to the Middle Ages. They were originally a group of craftsmen who needed a way to identify each other and made a mark to determine a certain level of craftsmanship. But that's not where the story gets interesting. Where it really kicks off is when the secret society works its way into America. It has been there ever since the country was founded. 13 of the 39 people who signed the Constitution were all members of the Freemasons. Now, there hasn't been anything dastardly that can be directly connected to them unless you go into the world of conspiracy theories. Then you can call up the legend of Winston Churchill, who was a member of the Freemasons. People say that he sacrificed men during World War II and did it under order of the Freemasons to increase the tragedy of the war so more eyes would be on the war. But this is just a myth and has never been proven. But the fact that so many important people from history have been a part of this group will make you raise an eyebrow. Coming in at number 5, we have the Skull and Bones Society. Rooted in American history and connected to Yale, one of the great Ivy League schools in the United States, this society has a dark history that has worked its way into the highest levels of government. Both George Bush Sr. and George Bush Jr. were members of the Skull and Bones Society. So I think it's safe to say that this club is very powerful. Some people think only the best, brightest, and richest people who attend this Ivy League school are able to walk through the doors of this secret cult. Some of the darker things that have been directly linked to the group of men who have allegiance to this place are the creation of the atom bomb and the assassination of JFK. Knowing that they've pushed several of their members into presidential power, I wouldn't be surprised if they had the power to also kill a president. Coming in at number 4 is the Hashashin. Let's go back through time to what was basically a super cool league of assassins. The Hashashin was a group of skilled Islamic mercenaries who would carry out hits on high-level targets. And we are not messing around when I say high level. This was back in the 11th century, so they were taking out out kings, queens, generals of armies, and religious figureheads. They were able to operate in the shadows, and by doing so, they could sneak into a place, take out a target without causing a massive war. After the person was dead, however, it might have stirred up something a little violent. Unfortunately, a lot of the information on this ancient society was lost because one of the great libraries containing knowledge on their work was burned to the ground. They used to do that a lot back then. So most of the information is lost forever. Coming in at number 3, we have the Illuminati. You can't make a list of secret societies without putting these guys on the list. I mean, they might be behind everything bad that has ever happened. Lost one of your socks in the dryer? Oh, that was the Illuminati. Did Lay's put even less chips in the bag again? Illuminati for sure. Well, they were started back in 1776, and the thing is, the reason they were created was actually pretty good. They wanted to create a source of education for people to learn about science instead of religion. Well, the church hated this and crushed them, and rumor is that they just went into hiding and they decided if you can't beat them, become them. People say that they've worked their way into every high-level position in major industries. They got into music, movies, oil, and even government. They want nothing more than to see us suffer and to see themselves get richer. Coming in at number 2, we have the Bilderberg Group. It's a grouping of some of the most powerful people in the world, and nothing that goes on in there is allowed to be shared with the media. Yeah, I'm sure nothing sinister has happened behind those doors. The original meeting was made in the 1950s, and it seemed to have a positive incentive. There was a lot of tension between America and Europe. This event was to bring together some of the world leaders in an attempt to quell those tensions and to make healthier relationships between world leaders. Now, what some of the rumors say about this is that it's basically a meeting of the ultra rich and connected to meet up and talk about how to take over the world. There have been several reporters who have gone to investigate the Bilderberg Group and have either gone missing or died mysteriously. There's connections with the groups and assassinations of world leaders and the creation of the European Union. I mean, in the end, I don't think any of us trust the super rich, but if they weren't doing anything sinister behind those closed doors, then why can't we find out what they are talking about? If they meet to discuss things that affect the whole world and they are indeed world leaders, then shouldn't we be allowed to know what's going on in there? Seems kind of important. And coming in at the number 1 spot, we have Anonymous. This would be the definition of a new age secret society. The thing is, none of us know if Anonymous is real or who they are, but let's say they are real. I mean, they have done some very real things like releasing confidential files and hacking into police databases. Here's what we do know about Anonymous. They seem to be on the side of the people and are anti-establishment. Every time they hack into something, it's to help the common person against the massive machine that puts its boots on the necks of those below it. They seem to be a group of high-level hackers that have found a way to collect and release very sensitive information. They also love the V for Vendetta mask. I think it can be frightening because it seems that they have the power to access any sort of digital information. But as long as you're not a horrible person hiding secrets on some hard drive, then you should have nothing to worry about.
Starting off this countdown, we have the Angel's Landing. In the early 2000s, a man named Daniel Perez, or Lou Castro, led a cult that lived at Angel's Landing. They all lived on a 20-acre property outside of Wichita, Kansas. Now, Perez had control of these followers because he convinced them that he was an angel and a seer that could look into the future and know exactly when they were going to die. Obviously, that was false. In reality, he would kill off his followers and use their life insurance policies to become rich. He was getting away with it for a while until police looked into the death of one of his followers, Patricia Hughes. In 2003, her dead body was found on the compound. Then in 2006, her husband mysteriously passed away. This all led the police back to Perez, who had changed his identity to Lou Castro. Eventually, he was caught and sentenced to 80 years in prison for the lengthy list of his disturbing crimes he committed. Yikes. In our 9th spot today, we have the Children of God. Formed in 1968, the Children of God, now referred to as the Family International, is a cult that believes in salvation and spiritual revolution and happiness. But as the group got a big following, their beliefs shifted. From there, the followers were forced to engage in dark practices, like having the females lure men into the cult by having intercourse with them. Sadly, the followers were often mistreated in multiple ways. One woman who was a part of this cult as a child referred to it as living hell. It literally traumatized her. 31 people died at the hands of this cult. And like I said, it's still active, but in 2004 just changed its name to Family International. Moving on to number 8, we have the Brethren. This one is quite interesting. So the Brethren have also been given the name the Body of Christ, or Brothers and Sisters, and even Garbage Eaters. Why? Well, you're about to find out, that's for sure. So for starters, this cult believes that the end of the world is near, and so they are told they have to purify themselves in preparation for the end of the world. They do this by selling their possessions and breaking ties with all their family and friends. They then live as vagrants, eating garbage, hardly ever bathing, and never receive any medical treatment. They also do weird jobs to make money, but then any money they earn just goes right into the group. Due to this lifestyle, a number of group members have had serious mental breakdowns, others have sadly taken their lives. Not a cult you would want to be a part of. Honestly, no cult you want to be a part of. Coming in at number 7, we have the Realism. Founded in 1974, this cult believes that life was created by aliens. Yes, you heard me correctly, aliens. These aliens then assumed human form to go check in on Earth and see how things are going. These aliens are said to be people like Jesus or the Buddha. So this cult spends their days worshipping space aliens. The scariest part? In 2000, they claimed that they founded a cloning company and that they managed to successfully clone a human. Literally everyone went nuts, and the White House even got involved in this, even though they never had any proof of the cloning. Unless the White House was like, okay, we'll pay you guys, just give us this device so we can clone people, but it stays between us. Dude, imagine? Okay, like that's freaky. Come in our 6th spot, we have Matamoros cult, aka the Human Sacrifice Cult. In 1989, a man named Mark Kilroy went missing when out on spring break. Turns out he was kidnapped and then lost his life to this cult. This cult was known to kidnap people and take their lives as a sacrifice. The leader of this cult, Adolfo Constanzo, told his members that by doing so, they would become invincible. Why would they need to become invincible? Well, they were not only a cult, but they were also drug dealers as well. But Constanzo promised that they would never be caught by the police so long they continued to harm and sacrifice others. In the end, Constanzo was caught and then was killed in jail. But rumor has it that the cult is still around to this day. We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with the Doomsday Cult. Now, this one is pretty vague because there are a number of doomsday cults out there, but they all pretty much follow the same belief. Now, there are 2 types of doomsday cults. One that predicts disasters and thinks that the end is near, and the other one tries to destroy the earth to bring the world to an end. Either way, both are terrifying and you definitely don't want to get mixed up in it. Both cults have been known to brainwash their followers. So they don't believe what the media is telling them and only listen to the lies of their leaders. Either way, they believe that like, hey, we're gonna die soon, or hey, let's try and make everyone die soon. So it's terrifying. Moving on to number 4, we have the Order of the Solar Temple. This cult was born off of the beliefs of the Knights Templar, and is said to be one of the creepiest cults out there. It is believed to have been founded in the late 1970s to early 80s. For the most part, the cult was peaceful. They had some weird beliefs, but they didn't do any harm. That was until 1994, when they believed that a member's son was the Antichrist. As a result, they killed both individuals. Then they enjoyed a Last Supper before taking their own lives by poison. On that day, 53 cult members lost their lives. It's an absolutely terrifying and heartbreaking story. To this day, this cult still exists. Moving on to number 3, we have the Shinrikyo cult. Founded in 1984 by a man named Shoko Ashara, this is a doomsday cult as well as a terrorist organization. Basically, members of the cult believe that the end of the world was near, but that they were going to be the only survivors. Why? Well, the leader said he had powers and could transfer his spiritual power to his followers to take away their sins. In 1995, this cult carried out the deadly Tokyo subway sarin attack, where 13 people died and thousands got injured. Apparently, this was done as an attempt to start the apocalypse, but also to stop the authorities from shutting down their cult. As a result of this attack, 13 members of the group got the death sentence, including the leader Shoko. After his death, the name of the cult was changed, but to this day, it's still active. The cult was never banned and it has about 1,500 followers. Coming in at number 2, we have the Church of Euthanasia. Founded in 1992, this cult literally promoted people to take their own lives. Their whole belief was that the world was dying because of overpopulation. So they were like, let's get people to kill themselves to restore the balance in humanity. They even set up an assistance hotline where people could call in and someone would help them take their own life. That is seriously the most messed up thing I have ever heard. And in our number 1 spot today, we have the Church of Scientology. Is the Church of Scientology a cult or religion? Well, a number of people think that it is indeed a cult. You've probably heard of it because of famous Hollywood star Tom Cruise. He's a very prominent figure in the church. And this cult is certainly one you never want to get involved in. For starters, once you're in, the church will force you to disconnect from people not involved in the cult. This includes your family and your friends. Jenna Miscavige Hill, a member of the church that left in 2005, had this to say about it, and I quote, "I was allowed to see my parents only once a week at best, sometimes not for years." So when you do want to leave, you literally have no one to go back to since you cut them out of your life. That's the other thing, leaving is so difficult. Apparently they will intimidate and harass you into staying. According to another ex-member, they also brainwash their followers. And if anyone misbehaves, they send them to this prison camp, where they are basically worked to death and barely fed to teach them never to be disobedient. There's also rumors that this cult commits crimes and murders, but they're so powerful that they can just get away with it all. If that's not scary, then I don't know what is.
Coming in at number 10, we have Denver Airport. Has anyone here ever flown through Denver Airport? Not only is it massive, it's apparently very spooky too. Vis-a-vis the blue horse statue with spooky red eyes. What's it up to? Let me tell you. A lot of people think that one of the busiest airports in the United States sits atop the secret Illuminati HQ, hiding in plain sight, right? Actually, I think that would kind of be a good shout. The airport opened back at the start of 1955, a whole 16 months behind schedule. It also cost a whopping $4.8 billion, which was over $2 billion more than budget. Back then, that was like a lot of money. It's also massive. It's 350,000 acres big. There are a lot of violent murals inside which show apocalyptic warfare. There's a sculpture of a devil coming out of a suitcase and weird Templar markings in every terminal. That horse that we talked about, he's the Egyptian symbol for death. Why? The airport's dedication stone contains Masonic imagery and New World Order references. Curiouser and curiouser. An ex-construction worker of the project actually said that the reason the construction was so behind was because at least 5 multi-story buildings were being built underneath the airport. Weird. Him and other employees all stated that there is a very complex network of tunnels underneath the establishment. Coming in to number 9, we have Beyonce, or Queen Bey as I like to call her. Yo haters corny with that Illuminati mess. I can't say that as me, can I? But still, listen, I don't think Queen Beyonce is a member of the Illuminati at all, but this was very much word on the street before she set the record straight in her album Lemonade. People would think that if you play the 2008 hit Single Ladies backwards, then a secret message is revealed. Also, during her epic Super Bowl performance with Destiny's Child in 2013, headlines appeared suggesting that she flashed an Illuminati symbol. Her husband has also been accused of flashing triangle symbols with his hands too. What does it mean? Further rumors were fueled at the 59th Grammy Awards held in Houston, where Beyonce gave an incredible performance whilst pregnant with her twins. She is such a queen. However, a lot of people thought that the performance had a lot of weird religious symbolism in it and was a nod to the Illuminati. In 2019, Bey and Jay went to a Houston Rockets game and the star wore a moon coord set, which some people took to be further confirmation of her allegiance to a New World Order. Honestly, can a girl not rock a moon coord? Seriously. From the Queen of Music to, well, Justin Bieber, up next at number 8. Illuminati and Justin Bieber have been uttered in the same sentence a number of times. Some theorists say that when Justin Bieber released his 2010 hit Baby, it was played backwards and satanic persuasive messages were heard. In fact, I googled this myself and it seems that ledgernote.com claims on a reversal, you'll hear, "Acknowledge me my lord, Lord, acknowledge me my lord, Lord." He's here, I'm the evil one, satanic new world, new world, new world. I want in, let me in, yay war. I mean, it's catchy, right? And also, yay war. Lol. I don't know about that, to be honest with you, but the plot did thicken when Skrillex and Justin Bieber released a music video for Where Are You Now, in which thousands of images were flashed of the Canadian pop star. Now, if you pause the video at opportune moments, you can see a lot of Illuminati images imposed over stars and satanic images. So what's going on? Also, Illuminati bros, obviously you're watching, but is Justin Bieber a good choice of representative? Like Beyonce I totally get, but Bieber? I don't know. Pick better. Coming in at number 7, we have the lizards. So one of the reasons that so many people have hailed Bieber as a member of the Illuminati is because his eyes allegedly changed colour when he was in court one time. Now there was footage of this on the internet, I have actually seen it, but curiously, it all seems to have been deleted. Similarly, Facebook boss Mark Zuckerberg has also been accused of being a member of the Illuminati because of the lizard reason once again. Some people think that the Illuminati is made up of lizard people, the lizard elite. Theorist David Icke, who has written books on the topic, believes that thousands of years ago, reptilian beings from the constellations Orion, Sirius and Draco intervened on planet Earth and began interbreeding with humans. He believes that they're now head of a lizardy world order, the Illuminati. Whew, internet. Coming in at number 6, we have the French Revolution, one of my favourite periods of history. It seems that the Illuminati conspiracy theorists have been plaguing history for hundreds of years. Back in the time of the actual Illuminati, the group was accused by conservatives and religious critics for sparking the French Revolution. I mean, I'm like sure, because the people can't get it together to stage an uprising themselves without a massive financial backer. I don't know, give the people the credit. Whatever happened though, theories like this led to the banning of secret societies by Bavarian ruler Charles Theodore in the 1700s, forcing the Illuminati underground. It was only a matter of time. Coming into number 5, we have Walt Disney. What better way to send secret messages to the world than beaming them to the impressionable minds of children? There have been so many Disney conspiracy theories out there, but one of the most enduring is that Walt Disney was part of the Illuminati. The story goes that he regularly hosted Illuminati meetings at his secret Club 33 in Disneyland, California. The story continues that the Illuminati ran a pedophile ring and that Walt Disney was tasked with sexualizing kids. Ugh. They explain that Aladdin and the Lion King and Who Framed Roger Rabbit and Ariel the Little Mermaid and the Rescuers have all been accused of trying to brainwash kids with non-PG content. I will say though, Walt Disney wasn't alive for the creation of any of those listed movies, which is a massive plot hole in that whole Disney was a member of the Illuminati thing. That being said, if the Illuminati are real, then I imagine a paedophile ring is quite possible, because Jeffrey Epstein, anyone? Coming into number 4, look no further than the US dollar. Many theories suggest that the Illuminati runs the United States government. The proof? Consult the $1 bill. In terms of Illuminati symbology, it has the whole triangular pyramid thing going on, plus the eye. The all-seeing eye, the Illuminati eye. The eye has also become a Masonic symbol, and Freemasons and the Illuminati have been linked over the years. The eye is supposed to be the eye of Providence, God's eye, but some people think that it is a nod to the secret elite that actually run the country. I don't know guys, what do you think? Do you see anything else in your American money? Our Canadian money's pretty cool, it's kind of like colourful Monopoly money. I like it. Coming into number 3, we have the pyramids. If I may, I'd like to circle back to the lizards for a moment. So reptilian or otherwise, some people believe that the ancient and more advanced alien civilizations had a hand in building ancient structures like the pyramids and Stonehenge. Great explanation. Honestly, this is perhaps a better theory than the super giant cow theory floating around, but it does still seem quite far-fetched. The story goes that the Illuminati has actually been around for a very long time and used to rule freely before their numbers dwindled and they too were forced underground. They built pyramids to align with various celestial bodies that allowed them a connection to power. Is this where the Illuminati triangles came from? Maybe. Coming into number 2, we have a wild theory. We have MH370. Some people believe that missing Malaysian airline flight 3H70 was stolen away by the Illuminati. Chatter on Reddit and 4chan linked the secret group to the disappearance of the Boeing 777 and its 239 passengers, saying that they've hidden it away somewhere for secret society reasons. In March 2020, it will be 6 years since the plane went missing after taking off from Kuala Lumpur, and we're still none the wiser as to where it is. Do the Illuminati have it? Finally, coming into number 1, we have the Illuminati killed JFK. What? Theorists believe that the Illuminati overlords were the ones that ordered the death of President John F. Kennedy. The President of the United States died over 50 years ago, but a lot of people just cannot accept that his death was as a result of an assassination from one crazed civilian. A lot of eyewitness reports from the day just don't corroborate the conclusion. So many people out there truly believe that there was a second shooter. The sources that back this up are acoustic recordings from the scene, the position from which one of the shots hit, the number of shots reported, and first-hand accounts from people that were standing there on the grassy knoll. Who was that babushka lady? Was she a member of the Illuminati? Questions, but no answers. Strange goings on that have lent fuel to this conspiracy fire include suggesting that actually fake autopsy pictures were released. A lot of people have questions about who was present during the autopsy itself. Some have even gone as far as to suggest that the president's body was tampered with by conspirators in Air Force One, who did not want the public to see his real injuries. A lot of people think that Lee Harvey Oswald was a stooge for the Illuminati. So, what did JFK do to anger them? Questions! But again, no answers, because after all, it is the Illuminati we're talking about.